Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
A couple of weeks ago when Coach Adams visited the school, we were just talking, and he just kind of looked me in my eyes and he's like, "We want you to be a Gamecock." And after that, that's when I set my visit in stone, and I was like, "I'm going to come here." And after I talked to Coach Spurrier, Coach Hoke in person, that was the first time I met him today, I just had to pull the trigger.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, on a steamy hot South Carolina June Monday. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes in our nice, cool Learfield Studios, Main Street, downtown Columbia. 100 degrees today, and that's not a record for this day in June. But the hot spot in South Carolina, our news department tells us, as it always is, because the officials here like to call Columbia famously hot. And today it was living up to that. You heard in the opening there from J.J. Givens, who has committed to USC. Okay, after this weekend, I am 100%, 150% absolutely, definitely sure there needs to be an early signing period, and it needs to be in the summer. There's no sense in dragging this stuff out until February because everybody's making up their minds in summer at these camps and at their various trips. I don't see why we cannot go ahead and arrange for the signing day actually be moved into July. And let's do it before we get into football practice and get into the season. Now, the one negative would be the fact that a lot of times, many times, almost every time, when a recruit comes to campus for a serious look and he wants to get the tour, he wants to meet with professors and get a look at the academic stuff that he might major in pro. And you can't really do that in the summer because professors are gone. They're on vacation. Mm-hmm. You can't make them hang around just for the purpose of meeting with the recruit unless they happen to live, right here in the Columbia area or the area of your particular school. So, but that aside, I think they really ought to go ahead and move for having this early signing period. And I know there's talk now about having one around Thanksgiving or one in December. I say let's do it in the summer because this is where the recruiting is now starting to happen at full force. This is the new January, is June.
I was just thinking, a lot of professors have lectures or whatever on YouTube, on videotape. Let them look at those. I guess. Or either talk to, if the head of a department is there, they can talk to that person, give them a tour. Obviously, a sticking point, the big elephant in the room is the fear of injury, but that can happen in any sport. But it almost have to, if a person agrees to sign early, that there's some protection if he gets injured his last year in high school or something, that he could still be on scholarship while he recuperates.
Yeah, they can do that. Hey, look, they got the money now, right? All this money flowing in. Why not use it for that? We'll be right back. We have got a lot to talk about from over the weekend and today. We'll take your phone calls here early on. 800-956-7266 is the number. 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at sportstalksc. Make sure you sign up and follow us on Twitter. Good way to keep in touch with us and to communicate with us on a regular basis. The website is sportstalksc.com. And on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. The new poll question at sportstalksc.com: who will be the ACC's best quarterback in 2015? You can vote for Deshaun Watson, Justin Thomas, Everett Golson, Brad Kaya, Jacoby Brissett, Marquise Williams, or you can enter your own choice. Thus far, 50% have voted for Deshaun Watson. 21% have voted for Justin Thomas. If you haven't voted yet, get over there and vote. Big story in the States. Well, there's a couple of big stories brewing in the States. One is an old big story. The other is a new big story. Let's do new first. John McKissick. Story came out last night from our buddy Scott Eisberg in Charleston at WCIV, a member of the Sports Hall of Fame, that McKissick is going to retire with an announcement coming out later this week, official announcement. Charleston talked with McKissick last night, and he said, well, not sure yet, thinking about it. Of course, he's been thinking about it for a long time. Not sure about it. I'm going to meet today with school officials and go from there. Meeting didn't take place. It's going to take place tomorrow. And based on what Coach McKissick told the Post and Courier this afternoon, there's a chance he's not going to retire. And there's a chance that he is going to retire. He said he has scheduled a Tuesday morning meeting with the superintendent for Dorchester School District 2. He said, quote, if we can reach an agreement for me to stay, I'll stay. If we can reach an agreement for me to go, then I'll go. So it's sort of hanging up in the air. Apparently, if he does decide to retire, Joe Call, who is his grandson and quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator, and he played quarterback at Summerville and at the Citadel, he is slated to take over at least on an interim basis. Of course, you all know that John McKissick has coached 63 years at Summerville. He's won 621 games. It's more football wins than any football coach on any level in the world.
I would imagine so, 63 years.
Well, think about it, Pro. 63 years, 621 wins. That's averaging almost 10 wins a season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how hard is that to do over a 63-year period? It's pretty darn hard. He won 10 state championships at Summerville, the last one in 1998. David Shelton from the High School Sports Report, who covers Coach McKissick, knows him extremely well, very close to him. He'll join us in our second hour. J.J. Givens will be here at the bottom of the hour. That's his new commitment for the 16 class. Of course, they also, over the weekend, got a commitment from 2017 tight end Will Register from Chapin. He's on a family trip and not available to be on the show with us right now. We'll try and catch him later on. So 2 good pickups there for the Gamecocks, as they had a bunch of folks coming through their camp over the weekend. Clemson had a lot of folks through this week as well, especially over the weekend. No commitments for the Tigers, but put themselves in good position with several players. We'll give you a very lengthy recruiting report, which we will start here in just a couple of minutes because it's so long. We'll start it up here in a couple of minutes.
You got to be kidding.
Then have our interview with Givens, and then continue with the recruiting report.
I was just thinking about
you got someplace you need to go, you might as well just go.
No, I was just thinking about John McKissick. See, if he'd have had an 8-4 season in there, like in his 30th year, get him the hell out of here. He's not getting it done. You know, it's something to be said about longevity, because apparently he had a hiccup or two along the way.
Well, sure, every coach has.
And so that's what I'm saying.
Name one that hasn't.
Sometimes you don't just, people now, hey, I got to change my socks. Might as well change the coach while I'm doing that. It's just bad karma there. I wonder what the hang-up is he won't decide to.
Well, maybe I don't really know. His wife is not in the best of health. Mm-hmm. So obviously that's something that's of great concern to him. But he probably also realizes too, not necessarily, but a man who has worked at one thing for as long as he has at his age, and when you're 88, look, every day is a blessing. And one thing that keeps you going is having something to go to, is having a reason to get up and go somewhere and do something. Now, I'm not speaking for Coach. He might be very much ready to just stay at his home in Debadoo and cut the grass and play golf or whatever it is he likes to do.
No way.
Well, he loves to cut the grass. That's what he does. He when he's not at his at Somerville, they say you'll find him on his tractor cutting his grass. Yeah. I don't know what other interest he has. Fishing, golf, playing bridge. I don't know. Bridge. So, but maybe the health concerns of his wife are hanging over him. I mean, I've always thought that I wouldn't see obviously we're going to see the day when he's not coaching anymore. I just didn't think it'd be this soon. I thought it'd be another 15 years or so, I mean, we're 63 years at one job.
Now, see, I don't know
that's a blink of an eye.
No, I don't see why. Yeah, Eddie Robinson, you said that about Graham. He said 50 years. Is that the record, Coach? He said, no, the record is 50 years, one job, one wife. You put those two together, and that's the
McKissick,
record.
63 years. This isn't – now, memory serves me right. He had a short stint in North Carolina, I think, as a head coach before he came to Somerville.
Must have been very short.
Well, if he's 88, 63, so he's 25, he could have coached somewhere a year or two before coming. I think so. I'd have to go back and look at his overall record on that. All right, so the Clemson baseball deal. Reports over the weekend pointing towards Monty Lee as the guy. In fact, I saw one report said it was the proverbial done deal. And however, Tiger Insider reported today that former Tiger outfielder Billy McMillan, got to get this right because there's a McMullen involved here too. Billy McMillan, the former Tiger star outfielder who's been coaching in the professional ranks, was going to interview today for the job. The assistant coach at Virginia, McMullen, he interviewed for the job. Of course, we know Randy Mazey interviewed for the job. Bradley LeCroy, Monty Lee. The thought was it's going to be Monty Lee retaining Bradley LeCroy and Monty bringing his top assistant along with him as well, putting together a very good-looking staff there at Clemson. But no news out of Clemson yet, nothing indicating that they're ready to make an announcement just yet. So that situation remains unresolved. The Braves today sent Christian Bethancourt down to AAA. The Braves' number one prospect. They want him to improve on his defense. He's been very shoddy behind the plate, ranks third among National League catchers in most passed balls and tied for fourth in errors. Braves called up veteran journeyman Ryan Lavarnaway, who'd been at Gwinnett. He'll join the team in time for tonight's game in Boston.
He can't practice much defense when balls are flying out of the ballpark. I mean, it's like he could turn.
Speaking of balls flying out of the ballpark, College World Series today, Vanderbilt and Fullerton, a game that was resumed after being stopped by rain yesterday with Fullerton up 3-0. It was 3-1. Going to the bottom of the ninth, Vandy scored a run to make it 3-2, got the tying run on base, and then a 2-run homer. Walk-off homer for Vandy wins the game for the defending national champions 4-3. Right now, Arkansas, Miami, they're playing an elimination game. They are scoreless in the bottom of the fourth. And then tonight, we have one more game to go, and it is Florida and Virginia. Yeah, Florida and Virginia in a winner's bracket game. All right, I think we will start up the recruiting with your permission, Pro.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's long. We got a long weekend of recruiting. We might as well share with everybody.
100-degree heat. I can sit back.
Yeah, be right back.
Into the air right field. That ball's hit pretty well. Vault's going back.
Well, in case you missed it, and you probably did, here is what it sounded like on the Vanderbilt Sports Network on IMG Sports. Joe Fisher, the baseball play-by-play announcer for Vandy. The batter is Jared Kendall. The Commodores are trailing in the bottom of the ninth by a 3-2 score. They have a runner on, and Kendall is at the plate.
The air right field. That ball's hit pretty well. Vault's going back. Go, gone. It's gone. It's gone. It is a 2-run shot, and the Vanderbilt Commodores have beaten Cal State Fullerton. Oh, are you kidding me? It's a mob scene at home plate. A 2-run dinger by Jaron Kendall, and Vanderbilt has turned this entire College World Series around.
And so the Commodores, that's their first game because they were delayed by rain yesterday. Game was suspended by rain, and so they move in the winners bracket, move forward in the winners bracket with that exciting win today. All right, let's go ahead and get the recruiting underway because we have a lot to catch up on from over the weekend and from today as well. Like I said, this weekend was like a January recruiting weekend, and those are pretty much becoming passé. The activity is heating up in the spring and the summer. That's why I think early signing period now makes sense. If a guy makes his decision, he's ready to go, why not go ahead and sign official and be done with it? The re-recruiting, the over-recruiting can be eliminated. You'll have a definite read on numbers. There won't be any guesswork. Makes a lot of sense to me. There's some things that would have to be ironed out. I get that. You have people signing, I guess, before taking official visits, or maybe you start allowing official visits for rising seniors in the summer. I mean, these camps are like official visits. Kids are coming and staying 2-3 days. They're getting the full Monty treatment of the tour of campus, the facilities, the meeting with the coaches, etc. Parents are coming. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Would it cut down on the prima donnas committing and decommitting to 5 and 6 different?
Well, yeah, if you make them
schools?
sign papers. I mean, if they have a signing date and they sign, there would be none of that. All right, so Givens and Register committed to South Carolina. Offensive lineman Will Putnam from Harrisburg, North Carolina, was at the camp Saturday, and Virginia Tech is his other big offer. Now, he's going to go to North Carolina for a recruiting event this Friday, the thing they called the Fedora Freak Night at North Carolina. Yeah, it's called Freak Night.
Did they all wear fedoras?
I don't know what they wear. They wear very little if it's Freak Night. Anyway, he said USC is his clear favorite. He'd like to revisit USC and Virginia Tech this week if possible, or at least have a lengthy phone call with the recruiters. And he said if North Carolina does not offer, then he'll make a commitment on Sunday. Offensive lineman Eric Douglas, a 2017 candidate. Eric Douglas II, his father played at South Carolina State. You remember him? Played for Willie Jeffries, was one of the best linemen in the MEAC back in the day. He was at USC's camp, picked up his first off game, was blown away. Thought there was some thinking he might commit. Then he went to Clemson for a camp Sunday morning. The Tigers offered Sunday afternoon, and so now he's kind of slowing things down. USC is his number one, he said, but Clemson is a very close second. We got more recruiting coming up, including J.J. Givens.
Air right field.
Okay, in the midst of the recruiting report tonight, it's a lengthy one with everything that went on over the weekend. We'll get back to the hardcore stuff in just a moment, but let's welcome into the program J.J. Givens, defensive back from Mechanicsville, Virginia, who was the one player from the 2016 class to commit to the Gamecocks on Saturday after wrapping up the showcase camp. And he joins us now. J.J., how you doing?
Man, how you guys doing?
We are doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on your commitment. The one thing that struck me, besides your talent and your maturity and talking to you, you came out of this event at South Carolina 100% solid with your commitment to South Carolina, despite having several other high major offers. What convinced you so solidly about going with South Carolina?
To be honest, what really got me about South Carolina, man, was, just, outside of football, just the aspect that, they would always have my back. And, I would always, I just have that feeling that, I'm more than just a football player to them. And, I bring more to the table than just being another athlete.
From talking to players who were in town over the weekend at the camp and got the tour almost to a man, you guys talked about the new facilities, the new residence for the football players. What really struck you about what they're building?
What really struck me about what they're building is actually how much time that they put into, actually building all these new facilities. And, they're building a whole new indoor facility, and they're about to finish it, and along with the new dorm. So mainly what struck me was, just like the passion, the drive that they have for their football program. And South Carolina, it's really all football. And, they have their other sports, like their women's basketball team is amazing. Their men's baseball team is outstanding. But, it's just nothing like that feeling that, you get from football and being in South Carolina.
You ever been to a football game at USC?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay, so you'll get a first taste of that, I'm sure, this fall.
I cannot wait.
In working out at the camp with their coaches, in particular with John Hoke, the coordinator, who will also coach the secondary, I'm sure you got to know him well. What did you think of him and the way he coaches up defensive backs?
Man, you know what? With him being a 13-year vet in the NFL, it's really a blessing for me and an honor to just be under such a great coach. He pretty much took me under his wing, and I'm learning from the best, and hopefully I can make it to that next level. But Coach Hoke is an amazing guy. He's really that kind of blew my mind. Like, he's just a genius, and I don't know, man. It's just he's just a great coach in general. All in general, he's an amazing man, and so I think that's why I have nothing but the utmost respect for him.
What did he say that he liked about you as a defensive back and your skills fitting in with his defense? What did he see there?
Pretty much, man. He told me I can come in early and contribute to the team like instantly as soon as I walk on the campus. He told me that, he said I have like an unusual link to me, which is really good. Like, so I'm really quick, fast. He did tell me I have to work on a lot of things, but, I just took everything he said in stride. But overall, he told me he loves pretty much everything about me as a defensive back, and he knows that I can come and make a big impact at South Carolina.
They plan to start you out at corner?
Yes, sir.
6'2", 170 corner. Those are hard to come by. How do you deal with how do you deal at that size? I mean, how do you deal with those? I know that's good when you're dealing with tall receivers, but what about the smaller, quicker receivers? How well do you hang with those guys?
Man, to be honest, all you have really is, you have to adjust yourself because, every situation is different. So, I mean, that's kind of what I've learned throughout this whole thing. I've gone against tall receivers, short receivers, And mainly it's just adjustments, and it's just the little things that, can separate you from going a taller defender. I mean, a taller receiver or a shorter receiver.
Mm-hmm. Is it your plan to graduate early?
You know what? I've thought about that, but I don't know. I guess Tom would just tell, and you know how everything works out at South Carolina, because I definitely want to get my master's degree, but if graduating early is an option, I would definitely love to do that.
Sure. Okay. Did you get a chance to talk with Steve Spurrier very much?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what'd you think from talking with him?
Man, oh, my God. The old ball coach, man. He is just amazing. He's pretty much a walking legend, man. He's done everything. He scored a touchdown, rushed a touchdown, passed a touchdown, kicked a field goal. I mean, everything about that man is great. And he told me because he was actually the first person I really told that I committed. And, I shook his hand, looked him in the eyes. I told him I wanted to be a Gamecock. He just got that cheeky smile on his face. And he's like, man, you joined the right place because they're going to take care of me. So, man, Steve Spurrier is a great coach. Can't wait to learn from him. And, it's going to be a blast.
All right, JJ, listen, man, enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll be checking in with you during football season. Hope everything goes well. You stay healthy, and the Gamecocks are glad to have you in the fold, and appreciate your time tonight.
All right, no problem, man. Tell the whole Gamecock Nation I said we cocky, and we're coming for the national championship this year.
You just told him yourself.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Got to love that kid, huh? J.J. Givens, defensive back from Mechanicsville, Virginia. And I'll tell you what, 6'2", you can play corner at 6'2". If he can cover the short, speedy guys, that's what you love to have as a cornerback, that kind of size and range and length. That could be very, very workable. I can't think the Gamecocks have had a corner like that since Chris Culliver in terms of that kind of size.
Well, it's usually difficult when they're short and intermediate routes when they take that secondary move. But taller guys learn now that some of them learn to go over the top. They'll break down very quickly and try to go over the top of a small guy. That's why you see quarterbacks now try to throw the ball as low as they can.
Sure. All right, back to the recruiting report. We told you about 2017 offensive lineman Eric Douglas II. Now, his teammate, 2017 offensive lineman TJ Moore, was also at USC's camp Saturday and was offered. The two of them were offered at the same time. He said he had a great experience. He likes the Gamecocks, but he actually likes Michigan as his current favorite. Douglas and Moore, however, plan to visit North Carolina Friday and NC State Saturday. The two are very close friends, and they've talked about, of course, going to the same school. But again, they're 2017 guys, and you got to give them a little bit of time here to sort through everything and get all their offers in. Another offer USC made was to Trey Jackson, 5'10", 178, defensive back receiver out of Baton Rouge. His grandfather, Willie Jackson, his father, Jack Jackson, both played at Florida. Jack, of course, played for Spurrier. So there's a strong connection there. And Spurrier himself offered Trey Jackson, who he likes him as a receiver, but they will not keep him away from the defense if he decides to join the Gamecocks. He's also camped at TCU. He also wants to visit North Carolina and Oklahoma this summer, looking at a decision around the start of football season. 90% likelihood he'll take an official to USC this fall. Defensive end Jordan Smith of Lithonia, Georgia, was at USC Friday, Saturday. He was there as an observer. He did not participate. Big-time defensive end, all kind of big offers. USC was the first visit of the month for him. No other visits or camps planned. Plans a commitment before his season. Clemson is his leader right now, he said. He said he's just a Clemson fan. He likes the coaching staff and the players. He did not identify a second-place team, but he said USC was high up with him. Other offers include Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Kentucky, NC State, Georgia Tech, Mississippi State, Alabama, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Florida State. One of USC's top targets, defensive back Marlon Character, did not make it in this weekend, but he plans to visit on Saturday. USC offered receiver Kelvin Harmon of Palmyra, New Jersey during the camp. NC State, North Carolina, Boston College, Syracuse, Rutgers, West Virginia, and others have offered him. He'll take official visits before he decides. We got more coming up. Don't go away. All right, let's continue with this beautiful recruiting report on a Monday night. More from USC camp. Running back Cade Carney of Davidson, North Carolina, was at the camp Saturday, did not get an offer. Has offers from Georgia Tech, North Carolina, NC State, and Wake Forest. USC did offer running back Jordan Brown of Durham after his camp workout. NC State, North Carolina, West Virginia, Wake, Oklahoma State, Boston College, Appalachian State, other offers. Offensive lineman Jordan Johnson of Jacksonville worked out on Friday, had a great time, went to Florida State Saturday, is at Florida today, planning to camp at Georgia Tech as well. Linebacker Jeremiah Moon of Hoover, Alabama, was at USC's camp, has the Gamecocks high up on his list. Sunday, he was at Mississippi State. He's also going to camp at Florida. Linebacker Cash Daniel of Paintsville, Kentucky, was at USC Saturday. Gamecocks, Louisville, Kentucky, and Florida, his final 4. His announcement's been moved up from August 13th to July 4th. He goes to Florida this week. Offensive lineman Landon Dickerson of Hudson, North Carolina, top 3 of USC, Virginia Tech, Tennessee. He was at USC on Friday. He's wide open with those schools, but South Carolina firmly in the mix, plus Florida State and Auburn are making a push. Running back commitment C.J. Freeman did not make it to the Gamecock Showcase camp because of family plans, but he does remain committed. Receiver Brad Hawkins Jr. of Camden, New Jersey, said after camp, USC and Michigan are tied the top for him. Offensive lineman Luke Elder of LaGrange, Georgia, has USC and UNC at the top at this point. Former commitment receiver Kyle Davis, Decatur, Georgia, did not make it into USC, nor did offensive lineman target Akeem Cooperwood, a junior college player out of Georgia Military, but they want him in camp in July. New offers from yesterday: 2016 receiver Calvin Ridley, defensive back James Pierre, defensive back Aaron Robinson. They're all from Deerfield Beach, Florida. 2017 receiver Jerry Judy of Deerfield Beach. 2017 receiver Trey Blount of Powder Springs, Florida. And today, the Gamecocks offered offensive lineman Garrett Bowles, 6'6", 305, out of Snow Junior College in Utah. He's a major big-time prospect. 2017 receiver James Robinson of Lakeland, Florida, was at Clemson over the weekend. He now favors the Tigers. Ohio State, Florida, and Tennessee also in the mix. 2016 receiver target DeAndre Overton of Greensboro was at Clemson for 3 days over the weekend. Tigers remain strong with him, along with Tennessee and NC State. He plans to go to North Carolina this weekend. Defensive end Tony Clayton of Vienna, Georgia, was at Clemson yesterday. Another national recruit with offers from across the country, but Clemson's at the top of his list right now. Defensive end Michael Boykin of Carrollton, Georgia, was at Clemson's camps this past week. Tigers did not offer him at the camp, but they've told him to be patient. They do have him on the board. Clemson offered 2017 quarterback Chase Bryce of Grayson, Georgia. They also offered 2017 quarterback Kellen Mond of San Antonio and 2018 quarterback Trevor Lawrence of Cartersville, Georgia. They also offered 2017 defensive end Yetur Matus of Fredericksburg, Virginia, 2017 defensive back Jacoby Clement of Charlotte, and 2018 defensive lineman Josh Belk of Louisville, who earlier in the week picked up an offer from the Gamecocks. Basketball, Clemson today offered 6'6" Jalen Johnson of High Point, North Carolina. He was at Clemson over the weekend. Lexi Brown, the standout from Maryland, who is leaving there and many thought might end up at South Carolina, instead is going to Duke. She's the daughter of Dee Brown, who, of course, back in the playoffs against the Hornets was robbed of a dunk that would have won a game in the playoffs. Should have been a goaltending call.
No, the ball was in his hand.
It has to be goaltending because he caught it above the rim and was going down.
But D. Brown's hand was still on it.
It's goaltending.
No, it's not. He has to release it. They get a goaltending call. That was a pin.
And in baseball, USC over the weekend, commitment from right-handed pitcher Colton Provey, 6'3", 185, Walter State Junior College in Tennessee, teammate of Gamecock first baseman commit Ross Grosvenor. He's the 4th junior college player to commit to this class. Pitching out of the bullpen last season, 27 appearances, all in relief, 6-1 record, 2.42 ERA, and 10 saves. He struck out 62 in 48 and 2/3 innings. The Gamecocks now have 16 pledges for the 2015 class, not including the 2 commitments who were drafted earlier this week and have now signed. Both of those guys who were drafted off the Gamecocks class, they have now signed. So there you go with the recruiting report for now. That's from the weekend and through today. And if we turn up anything else today, we'll let you know. Speaking of those baseball signings over the weekend, Matthew Crownover signed his contract. $160,000 is all he got, $70,000 under slot. This according to MLB.com. Tiger Zach Irwin signed his contract, $508,000. Taylor Clark of the College of Charleston signed with the Diamondbacks for $802,000. USC recruit Nick Nadert signed his contract with the Mariners, just over $1 million. And College of Charleston third baseman Carl Wise signed his contract as well. Be right back. All right, to the Braves Report, brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bauer Parkway in Columbia, by Founders Federal Credit Union, and by Mattress by Appointment. Real simple. You call, you save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets. That number, 803-816-0577. We welcome in Mike Morgan to Sports Talk. Christian Bethencourt headed down to work on defense.
Yeah, he might work on his offense too.
Oh.
This was not a really good start to the season for Christian Bethencourt. They've been excited about for a while. A young man who really was known for his defense. The concern was his bat, not his defense. Both kind of took a turn for the worse. Sometimes those two kind of work in sync with one another. With one struggling, it's hard for the other not to sync as well, and that's what happened. And we saw that really lead to a Braves loss in a key spot, catcher's interference on one play, another error in another spot, and that combined with the fact he's just not hitting. And A.J. Przinsky is hitting and gives you veteran leadership. So disappointing. Something that I don't think many of us saw coming, but you can't blame the Braves for making the move the way he has struggled.
Yeah. Now they head up to Boston. The Red Sox are really struggling right now. 6-game losing streak I think they're on. And they get to go, the Braves do, they go with a guy who's been pretty good for them since they put him in the rotation, Williams Perez.
Yeah, Williams Perez has been a pleasant surprise. He really has. Actually worked a little bit out of the bullpen the other day because they were so desperate to find anybody that can get anybody out in that series in the Big Apple. So I'm not sure if that'll limit what he's able to throw today in terms of pitch count, but they just need him to go 6 to 7 anyway and just be effective against a Boston team that has been a major disappointment. You have to wonder what the heck is going on in Beantown, a franchise that won a World Series 2 years ago, and again, the second consecutive year where they've been an absolute disaster. So you don't want to be the team that they turn it around against. You're going to play them a couple of times in Boston, then a couple of times in Atlanta, try to keep the momentum. Perez tonight, and then Julio Teheran tomorrow.
Well, I saw the Mets game, and the way the Braves were throwing at him balls, I was thinking of old school days. I say, when is one of the Braves pitchers going to throw at a Mets batter? Because that's what they'd done years ago, because they were serving up practice pitches yesterday.
Paul Nevich was not good. He was wild. He was wild in the strike zone. Let's put it that way.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Mike Morgan with our Braves report. The Braves up in Beantown, and this is when I really become a Braves fan. Let's go ahead and just keep piling on the Red Sox while they're down
Braves
and struggling.
Braves bullpen just may be what the doctor ordered for the Red Sox.
You could be right. That was something watching the Mets. How many home runs did the Mets hit yesterday?
I think it was about 5 or 6.
Amazing the ball was flying out of there. All right, Miami has a 2-0 lead on Arkansas. Top of the hour break.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Coming up, David Shelton will join us from the Charleston area to share with us what he knows about Coach John McKissick and what to expect this week. Some of you on Twitter need to give Jack Leggett a little bit of a break here from our interview with him. Was that on Friday night we had Jack on?
Yeah, he probably was.
Well,
I wasn't here.
You know, he's made the comment, Jack did, that he'd received hundreds of phone calls and text messages and emails, you know, from people supporting him and et cetera, et cetera. And I asked the question, and I did it in a way that I was assuming the answer was yes. And I asked him if Ray Tanner had called him. And he said no, he had not heard from Ray Tanner. And then I remember I said, oh, I shouldn't have assumed that. And so people are here on our Twitter feed going back over the weekend after hearing the interview, either live or hearing it on our website, criticizing Jack for pointing out that he hadn't heard from Ray. And that's not fair and that's not right. He just answered the question. He didn't, you know, volunteer, hey, I didn't hear from Ray Tanner, I'm really ticked off. No, I asked him the question because I had presumed that Ray would have reached out. Maybe I shouldn't have, you know, maybe they don't have that kind of relationship. Maybe they were combatants for so many years and they had some really hard knocks against each other over the years in terms of heated competition. You know, maybe they aren't that close, and I should not have presumed that.
Well, maybe.
But you people on Twitter need to get off his back.
Well, maybe he wanted things to cool off. You know, he's the type of guy that if things still, I'll wait for a couple of weeks till he's settled. And
you know, he kind of has to some degree, not real closely, but he has to work to some degree with Dan Radakovich. I mean, they're both state-supported schools, and they do have some common interests. And maybe he didn't want to, and I don't know this at all. Maybe he'll never reach out to Jack. That's up to him. But maybe he didn't want to follow up too closely in a way that it would send the wrong message to Radakovich. What are you doing? You know, going and talking to the guy I just canned, et cetera, et cetera. So, but you people on Twitter here that have commented about it, really, you're off base about that. And Jack didn't do anything wrong or say anything wrong. He just answered the question that was posed to him. All right, David Shelton coming up here after the bottom of the hour break. I'm sorry, after the next break. And we'll talk with him about John McKissick, what he really thinks is going to happen. Very close to the situation. He and, of course, Billy Baker. There's probably nobody in the media closer to John McKissick than Billy Baker. And nobody's closer to Billy Baker than David Shelton.
And Billy Baker's been there all 63 years he's coached.
Well, he's written the book, literally.
Hot call.
He has written the book. Yeah. Hot call. Little inside joke there. We'll be back with David in a moment. All right, Braves and Red Sox. Looks like they're playing in the rain at Fenway.
Like,
No score, just underway. And Miami leads Arkansas 2-1. They're in the bottom of the sixth inning. We welcome in from the High School Sports Report and the Post and Courier in Charleston, our good buddy, David Shelton. Well, we know the day is coming for Coach McKissick, but based on his comments late this afternoon, I'm not sure that day is this week or not. What'd you make of his comments to the newspaper and the TVs down there? Did you read his quote?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it doesn't surprise me really, because I think the original plan was for Coach McKissick to meet with the district at the end of the month. And I think he had mentioned something to maybe his coaching staff that, there's going to be some decisions made. Well, somebody took the liberty to leak that to the press, and the press ran with it and kind of caught Coach McKissick off guard last night. So now there's a meeting scheduled tomorrow with the district. And the interesting thing is, is John McKissick going to be given the opportunity to say, I'm coming back for one more year, or is the district going to tell him you're not coming back for another year? Because then that becomes a totally different dynamic when you start talking about telling John McKissick he's not going to coach anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Who's gonna look him? Who's gonna look him in the eye and tell him?
Yeah, I mean, 621 wins in 63 years, but I think we're going to move in a different direction. I just don't see that happening.
I know who would do it. Dan Radakovich.
Oh, yeah, he would do that. But I mean, they're going to meet tomorrow.
He did it to Jack Leggett.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Well, I mean, I think, I was talking with Jeff Hartzell, my buddy at the Post and Courier today, and I said, you know what? It would not shock me if he walked in there and said, I'm going to go one more year, just because of the way all this kind of leaked out. I think it kind of caught him a little off guard, and everybody started calling last night. It got on Twitter. Coach McKissick may not be all up into the social media thing, but when something gets out, it gets out. And then people like me are calling him and everybody else. So, I mean, I'm going to be at the district office tomorrow, and we're going to wait for him to come out. And we're just going to say, okay, what'd y'all decide? Which is going to be kind of weird. It just seems like, I think the way this, honestly, I think John McKissick wanted to step down, and I think he wanted to, wait till the end of the month, and they would have had a press conference, and, no leaks and no, have this big thing. Now it's kind of all discombobulated and a lot of innuendos going around. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a weird deal.
All right, here's his quote, and let me give you my take on it, and then I'll let you respond. If we can reach an agreement for me to stay, I'll stay. If we can reach an agreement for me to go, then I'll go. I mean, that is a very weird statement.
Yeah, I mean, how wide open is that?
But is he thinking now, and you make a good point, he wanted to wait till the end of the month, which would basically tie the hands of the school district in his replacement, because end of the month is July 1st, and I don't know how the contracts are and all that, but I mean, basically you've got your football staff. You have to have your football staff in place. You've got practice starting in a month. So I'm wondering if he's, Joe Cole, who's probably, I guess, and you're closer than I am, he's probably as worthy as anybody to be McKissick's replacement, at least on an interim basis. He is his grandson, but he's been the offensive coordinator. He's been a quarterback. He played quarterback at the Citadel, etc. And, do you think the statement is, if we can reach an agreement for me to stay, I'll stay. If we can reach an agreement for me to go, then I'll go. That second part, could that be more, if we can agree that Joe's going to be my replacement this year, I'll go. If we can't agree to that, then I'll stay. Do you read that way at all?
Well, I mean, I think that's part of it. But honestly, I think at this date, I think if they reach an agreement that he will go, Joe Cole will be the interim coach for the 2015 season, and then we'll have an opportunity to apply for the job along with about 100 other big-time name people. It's definitely a job people are gonna want. But I think that quote is just Coach McKissick. I mean, if you've been around him long enough, sometimes he says things that leaves it open, leaves you kind of walking away going, okay, what did he just say?
Yeah.
And this is one of those quotes. It's kind of like, if it can reach an agreement, I'll stay. I mean, what, you going to ask for more money? Or, I think that was just one of those open-ended quotes that he just made the comment and doesn't really think about what, let other people decide what it is. I mean, I was told to be at the district office in the morning, and I said, so when they come out, what do I ask them?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, did you quit or were you fired?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the story. The story will not be whether or not John McKissick coaches next year. It will be, did he leave on his own, or was he told, we want to do something different? Because to me, that's a totally different story. My take on this. I think he has earned the right to, as Jack Leggett, I think he's earned the right to leave when he's ready to leave. And, but I mean, he is 88 years old. It is 63 years. He is at the end of his career, obviously.
Mm.
So, I think all this stuff just happened so quick. Because he had told Billy Baker of the Sports Report Wednesday, who wrote 2 books with him, and, they're close.
Yeah.
He had told Billy, he said, we're going to wait till the end of the month. We're going to sit down and talk and see what happens. And then the next thing you know, it's all out in the media and on social media, and things just kind of went crazy.
Well, I was thinking, like Phil, it has to be something of his choice of who his successor is. And my way of thinking now, at a school district, how long do they have to advertise this job, and how long does that take? Is that part of the deal?
Yeah, you would have to advertise the job, but I think on an interim basis, like Phil said, it's too late to go get another coach now.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he steps down tomorrow or July 1st or whatever, things are in place. Coaches around the state have signed their contracts for the coming year. So, I don't know how hard it is to get out of contracts and all that, but there would have to be an interim situation. But then they will have to advertise the position. And then, then it's, Kenny Farrell's the principal there, who is a football guy, and he would have the ultimate decision. But you're gonna see a lot, however this plays out. Politics are going to be rampant in Somerville, because you'll have people on the school board that want to have their guy, and they're going to, but it's supposed to be the principal that makes this call.
Mm-hmm.
So, it'll be interesting. That's for sure. It'll be something to watch over the next year, regardless of what he said. I hope he comes back, to be honest with you. I said, I hope he does it for another year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, with the understanding that, hey, I'm not going to do it but one more year. And then he can go to these stadiums, these visiting stadiums, and they can have a little ceremony.
Sure.
I mean, that's to me, that's how I would like to see it happen. But
little farewell tour.
But is he the type of guy that wants a farewell tour? He strikes me as a guy that doesn't want to go through that.
No, he wouldn't want to do it. But I think, and then maybe that's just me, being nostalgic or just out of respect. He wouldn't want that, but I'm sure the stadiums that he visited would definitely do that.
I will say this: if I'm a high school coach, I don't know if I want to follow him. That's a big
I've always
shoes to
said
fill.
you don't want to follow the legend. You want to follow the guy who follows the legend.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it works. But I mean, somebody's going to have to do it. I mean, they're going to have a new football coach at some point.
David, thank you very much. What time is that meeting tomorrow?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. I'll be checking in with you.
Okay, man.
Thank you, buddy. David Shelton, High School Sports Report. So, things just can't happen smoothly. There's always got to be twists and turns and angles and all this, that, and the other. And I hope this doesn't become one of those deals where at the end of the day, tomorrow, he's told, this is it. You're not coming back as coach. I hope that like David said, I hope he'll be in a position and allowed to lead. I got to believe the people who run that school, they know who runs that school, and that's John McKissick. And, you got to let him do what he needs to do and how he wants to do it. So, interesting statement that he made, though. If we can reach an agreement for me to stay, I'll stay. If we can reach an agreement for me to go, then I'll go. We'll be right back. All right, thanks to David Shelton for that update. We'll continue to cover that, of course, tomorrow. 10 o'clock is the meeting down at the school district there in Dorchester County. So we'll continue to follow that. Of course, the media down there will be all over it. You can follow it on Twitter at the High School Sports Report or any of the TV stations, the Post and Courier as well. They'll have it all covered. It's a big story, not only here, but nationally. You know, the major national sports outlets have picked up on this story because John McKissick, because of who he is and what he's accomplished, is not just a South Carolina story. He is a national story. And I tell you what, you know, I'm not that close to Coach McKissick. I've talked to him many times over the years, and we have a nice friendship. He is as fine a person that I've ever had a chance to sit down and talk to. The little bit of exposure that I've had with him and the chances I've had to talk to him. He's, of course, I kind of look at him sort of like a guy on the sports Mount Rushmore, you know, here in South Carolina. With all the success he's had and all the great players and teams he has produced over the years. And he's, as far as I can tell, he's done it his way. And he's also, I mean, think of the things he's had to coach through over the years, you know, going from, I'm sure, the all-white teams of his early years through desegregation, to bringing the town together through all that, continuing to win, and to send players to college at a very high rate. You know, it's been quite a ride for him through his years at Summerville.
Think in this vein, he's coached some of his former players' grandsons.
Well, yeah.
I mean, he
coached his own grandson.
He's coached through generations, multi-generations.
Now, you know, Summerville is an interesting place. It's a pretty good-sized town. And for all those years, he had just the one school there, Summerville. Then, of course, you saw in the last 15, 20 years what popped up. You had Stratford pop up. You had, I think, Fort Dorchester as well popped up. West Ashley, I think, has popped up. It has sort of stretched them a little bit thin. You know, Summerville used to be, by a wide margin, the state's largest school.
Right.
Then I think it became Dorman, and now I think it's Wando. And so he had that huge talent pool. Some of that was siphoned away. And, you know, you look at it, though he continues to win, they haven't won a state championship since 1998, which is I'd have to go back and look in the record book. I would think that has to be one of the longest championship droughts of his tenure at Summerville, you know. 98, so we're talking 17 years. Yeah. He's had teams in the finals in that time. In fact, I'll look that up. He's had teams in the finals, but for whatever reason they haven't. And, you know, they've made the semifinals. They've made their runs, but for whatever reason, you know, they ran into Burns and the Spartanburgs and then the Dormans and those people. And, you know, one thing about him, though I'm sure they changed some over the years, their style of offense. One thing you think about Summerville that never changed, hard-nosed, tough, physical football. No doubt about it. That starts with the head coach. Back in a moment. John McKissick won his first state championship at Somerville in 1955. That was the Class C. I think that was Class C. Let me double check that. Back then they had Class did things a little differently back then. 1916, they didn't have any classes. They just had teams. Yeah, Class C, 19 wait a minute, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was Class B. Yeah, Class B. I guess that was the bigger schools. 1955, Somerville. They had won it in 48 and 49 with Harvey Kirkland. So McKissick in 55 beat Saluda, beat Bettis Herlong. And he beat him again in 56, went back to back. Then I think there was about, as far as I can tell, there was about a 13-year wait until they won the next championship. And anyway, championships continued through 1998. Played for it in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the last time.
Okay.
Somerville has won 12 state championships. So McKissick won in 55, 56, 69, 78, 79, 82, 83, 84, 86, 98. So the longest stretch of his career when he did not win a championship was from 56 to 69. That would be 13 years. And then there was a 9-year stretch, and then it was pretty regular, 78, 79, then 82, and then 86 to 98, 12-year stretch, and then 98 to now. So he's had a couple of dry spells in there in terms of championships.
And again, if you look at it from this standpoint, they're a little bit under, but we can just say average out that about 20% of the time he's won a title. And yeah, that's pretty good percentage.
I would say so.
Mm-hmm.
I would say so. All right. Well, we'll find out what happens with that tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. We now have some time to take calls. If you'd like to join us tonight, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Our email, talkback at sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter at sportstalksc. Braves and Red Sox, they are scoreless, bottom of the second. Miami leads Arkansas 2-1. In the top of the seventh in the elimination game at the College World Series. Earlier today, Vanderbilt, 2-run homer in the bottom of the ninth to defeat Cal State Fullerton by a 4-3 score, and Virginia and Florida to follow tonight, the last game of the night. The baseball has been flying out of Ameritrade Park there in Omaha. They've already hit more homers in this CWS than they hit in the entire CWS last year.
Well, during the playoffs, there was a streak there in the regions of super regionals where all the games combined, they'd hit 63 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
This time last year, it was 21. I mean, it is incredible. Now, in this game, Arkansas just escaped a bases loaded 2-out jam, and they get the lead runner on. So sometimes when the team doesn't score and they got the sacks full, this may come back to haunt Miami in this ball game. It'd be interesting to see. But Vanderbilt, that was interesting how they looked like they were really set to be beaten last night, and then that game was suspended. Mm-hmm. And maybe those few hours helped them out because they were down 3-0 in the sixth inning. It just looked like Cal State Fullerton's pitcher was unhittable. And then they come back the next day and they get the juice to steal it in the bottom of the ninth inning.
Well, they know what it's like to win a championship. They know what it takes. And, that last out can be the hardest one to get. That 27th out is what they say. And Fullerton never got it. NBA playoffs off tonight. They will resume tomorrow night. Will that be the finale tomorrow night in Cleveland, or will this thing go 7? The Cavaliers, they had a little bit more life offensively last night. J.R. Smith gave him a little bit of a boost, finally found his shot. But outside of that, not much help for LeBron. They look like they're floundering to me, and it looks like Golden State. If Golden State perseveres and because Cleveland's going to come out at them with a lot of effort in the opening minutes tomorrow night and try and establish things and build an early lead. LeBron is probably going to – here's what I would do if I was David Blatt. This might be suicide, but I would try and do something to take all the pressure off of LeBron and try and get back into a team flow.
You can't.
There's got to be a way. Did I not see – don't they have – is he hurt? Who did I see sitting on the bench? Not Miller, but yeah, that's it. Thank you, Statement. Sean Marion. Is he not? Can he not play anymore?
The Matrix is not a mattress. I mean, this.
Oh, here we go. Statement has.
No, I was just going to say I watched the post game. I said it's funny that one of the Cleveland reporters actually intimated to Coach. He said, "Is there anything? Is it a professional reason why you're sitting Sean Marion?" Intimating that there's some kind of cloud of suspicion between the media that he's doing it on purpose, like he has a personal problem with Sean Marion. But
what was the answer?
Well, the answer is absolutely not. I mean, he said it was nothing but professional. That's ludicrous. But
so why is he not playing?
Well, just he doesn't believe that he can get in the lineup for.
He's got to be better than what he's got out there.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but that's not. He didn't go any further with his answer other than it's nothing but professional. Well, he also sat Mozgov for the entire game after he went for 28 and 10. So there's that too. So plenty of questions.
Yeah.
Well, the toughest thing is you pick your poison. I thought they were very much in that ball game to the waning moment. So I don't totally disagree with Mozgov not playing as long as he did because they were right there. But the big thing now, as I said,
but what got him? What got him late? Offensive rebounds.
Exactly.
And hustle balls.
And
Golden State beat him with some hustle balls and got some offensive
because Golden State has learned be patient. Be patient. That short lineup will run out of gas in the fourth quarter. And that's what they counted on. And then, of course, Curry went nuts.
No.
Some playground shots.
Yeah.
Years ago, he probably would have been the guy on the court to bet you I can make this shot and then double the bet when he starts to miss deliberately and then then collects his money and leaves the court. But he just went insane. And you can't beat that. And as I said, they were the healthiest team going into the playoffs, and they still have not won. So, but I think probably Cleveland will burst out the 10-point lead. They'll stay within 10, and then in the middle of the fourth quarter, you'll see maybe Cleveland run out of gas. I think that's probably what Golden State is talking about.
Well, that will be it's gonna, whoever wins this series is gonna be a great celebration, either city, because both franchises have gone a long time between Cleveland's never won a basketball championship. It's been a long time since they won a championship of any kind. And the Warriors franchise, at least they can claim a championship in San Francisco and back in Philadelphia days.
Well, only in Dallas can I remember, and I think they won it as Golden State too, because Rick Barry. That's the last time I can remember in the NBA, which I think probably is a knock against the NBA to some fans, is the last time I can remember a team came out of nowhere and won the title. Nobody in their right mind said Golden State. And then, of course, Washington had something to do with it. I think they choked too, but Rick Barry went insane. And then they had Keith Wilkes, who was I think a rookie in that game, and a guy from Union, the big center they had, who was from Union. I can't remember his name.
Oh, was it something Ray?
Yeah.
Something Ray.
No, his last name was Ray, I think.
That's what I'm saying.
Clifford Ray.
Clifford Ray
from Union, South Carolina. He would rebound it like a monster against West Huntsville in that series. The last time I remember a team came out of nowhere to win a title.
All right, 800-956-7266. Got some more news notes we'll share with you in a moment, and can also take your phone calls here on Sports Talk. And we're back. 800-956-7266 is our phone number here on Sports Talk. Email into us from Roberts about baseball at USC. Have a question about USC baseball talent. I've heard people talk about the lack of talents on USC baseball team this year, which shouldn't be the case for an excuse. I checked the recruiting classes since 2010, and they have had top 10 classes pretty much since then. I'm trying to wrap my head around why this year was such a bad year. Oh, this is from Wes. Oh, Roberts is first name. Wes is the middle name. Well, first of all, as I tell you, every time this comes up, you can't hang your hat on recruiting class rankings, number one. A lot of misses in recruiting classes, both in terms of evaluation and actual players that come into a school. So you really can't hang your hat on all that. That is not to say that they haven't recruited well. They certainly have recruited well. They had some players leave the program for one reason or another who went on to do really good things. George Inkandarian, who ended up going to Miami. In fact, he's playing in the College World Series right now, was drafted. He left South Carolina. The Britt kid, Kurt Britt, who left and went to NC State and played well for them. Now, he had some family issues. His dad was sick, and he wanted to be closer to him in North Carolina. That's another significant player that they lost. They had some players to leave, had some injuries. You look at this year's team, and I think you had the combination of a big loss of talent from the previous year, such as Grayson Griner. They never did replace him this past season. That was one big hole they had to fill, and they never did. And then you had the injuries, which is not to make any kind of an excuse, but it's a fact. They were beset by numerous injuries. And then you only had really 2 or 3 guys offensively step up and have championship kinds of years. And that was, of course, Kyle Martin, who was outstanding, Elliott Caldwell, who was better than expected, and then Max Schrock, after his slow start, ended up hitting at a pretty high average, but he was hurt quite a bit too. I think if you can blame Holbrook for anything, I think not settling early on in the year on an 8-man lineup, except in those cases where you're platooning because of the pitcher, but having a set lineup instead of, a couple of weeks into the season, he's still moving guys around and kind of experimenting with Schrock at third or Schrock in left field. Remember, he played some left field. DC Arendis at second. Mooney sometimes at short. Mooney sometimes at third. He was moving guys around. I don't think they got settled real well.
Well, maybe they didn't get settled because a lot of times he didn't know who was going to hit that day. Sometimes a manager does.
But I mean, you have to. Sometimes you have to stick with a guy and let him play his way.
Well,
onto a hot streak.
Some people
you can't hit if you're sitting in the dugout.
Some people say that, but then again, one of the great things about the Braves under Bobby Cox is he played everybody. You didn't know who was going to be in the lineup day in and day out. He had 3 or 4 good players. But the thing that surprised me this year, and I think probably was missing, is nobody can sit here and tell me. They'll talk about the deeds they did, but from a pure talent standpoint, the 2 teams that won the national championships couldn't hang a stick at some of the other teams I've seen at USC. Now, what they did was, but look at some of the characters.
That means what? Couldn't hang a stick?
They couldn't shake a stick at them. Yeah.
So you're saying that the teams that won the national championships were not as talented as some others.
But when you look at the mindset and the chemistry of that team and the leaders they had on that team, whatever they fell short of in talent, they had moxie. And if anything, this team did not have this year was a vocal leader and guys with moxie. When things wouldn't go right, they'd panic. Instead of just settling and let the game come to them, then they tried to force themselves to hit or whatever. And you can't do that. It's a strange thing about baseball is you got to play well. You got to be relaxed. You got to be focused yet relaxed. Because if you and I didn't think I saw leadership out of this team. Some of the intangibles you see, because we've seen them. You don't have decent talent and don't go into Texas A&M and win 2 out of 3, which tells you they had talent, but maybe the chemistry wasn't there.
Just a collection of things that beset this baseball program this year. And after that opening run, when they got off to the good start, they never really had another long, extended run of success in terms of a winning streak to really help put them over the top. Back in a moment. All right, Arkansas has tied things up with Miami. They're 2-2, and they're going to what, the 8th inning?
I believe they are.
Is that where they are?
Two outs, run scoring singles tied this ball game up.
All right, got a couple of other notes to pass along to you. Of course, this is the week of the U.S. Open. It's going to be a lot of fun watching them try and score at Chambers Bay. This golf course is going to kick some butt. First of all, saw some pictures today that some greens are in bad shape. I mean, those boys are going to be, if they don't do something, they're going to be putting on some hard rock, not as in rock as in on rocks, but a hard rock-like surface, extremely hard, some brown. Did not look good from that standpoint. No. This is a links course with a lot of undulation. You might see a British Open type approach to it where you see shots where they just kind of run them up on the green, that sort of thing. Remember when Tiger won the British Open and almost all his approaches were just run-up shots up on the green? This course is going to have the 3 longest par 4s in Open history. The number 14 hole will be 546 yards, par 4. The 11th hole, 537 yards, par 4. The 13th hole, 534 yards, par 4. And the 18th hole, which will play both as a par 4 and a par 5, will be 525 yards. It's going to play to 7,600 yards maximum. That's not the longest Open course ever, but my goodness. Well, the long hitter will certainly have a chance. So looking forward to the Open coming up. 7th Woods was one of the 5 cuts from USA Basketball under-19 team today. So he was cut from that squad. Oh, Vegas odds. The sportsbook operator CG Technology released college football conference championship odds today. Odds on favorite in the SEC?
Alabama.
5-2. Auburn was 15-4. Georgia was 5-1. LSU 8-1, along with Ole Miss, Tennessee. USC, a long shot at 25-1, but not the longest of the long shots. Kentucky 75-1 and Vanderbilt 100-1. In the ACC,
they still like Florida State.
5-2. Clemson 3-1. Georgia Tech 4-1. Louisville, Virginia Tech 8-1. Miami 10-1. In the Big 12, the pick is
Oklahoma.
TCU.
TCU is
17-10. I've never heard of 17-10 odds. I have no idea how that would work.
They like their quarterback.
Big 10. Big 10. Ohio State is 1-2. That's overwhelming. 1-2 odds in the Big 10. Ohio State.
Jim Harbaugh have something to say about that.
Yes, he will. That will do it. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you, Pro. Thank you, Steak Man. Everybody, turn up the air conditioning. Have a cool night. We'll see you tomorrow.